The following are true scary stories found on the subreddit Let's Not Meet. I'll have a link in the description to each of these stories if you would like to read along. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you can catch all of my future videos. Let's begin. This happened 2 months ago. I'm a 17-year-old male, my girlfriend is 18, and I live on around 150 acres of land in the south. Neighbors are scarce around here. My girlfriend had just finished her senior year of high school, and we'd been planning on spending the summer together since she would be going off to college soon and wouldn't have much free time. I woke up and got a pot of coffee going like I normally do, and turned on the news and waited for it to finish brewing. I began to feel uneasy, a sense of foreboding. Something was off, and I didn't know what it was. I finished off my cup of coffee and hopped in my truck and began the trip to pick her up. I wasn't exactly excited about going to get her, as I have a bad back, and driving for over 20 minutes causes a lot of discomfort and pain. Now you're probably asking why she didn't just drive herself over to my house. That's because her car is old and was having alternator issues. I finally get to her place, she gets her things, and we head back to my house. As I drive down the long gravel path to my house, I begin to feel like something is not right again. I once again ignore it and continue on. We get back to my house and we go inside and get her things situated. My mom had a day off, so I decided it would be nice for me to make breakfast for everyone. I fry up some bacon and eggs and make some biscuits and gravy. After we finish up, my girlfriend and I decided we were going to head back through the woods to a part of the creek that had a small bank covered in sand. Now, if you didn't know, the United States is having a problem with feral hogs, so going into the woods without a gun is a bad idea. I grab the shotgun and some rounds, and we get going. As we're walking through the woods, the feeling of dread comes back, and it's worse than before. I almost said that we should go back home, and I really wish I had. We get to the beach, for lack of a better term. We hang around, and after a while I say, "We should start heading home." As soon as I ended my sentence, we heard rustling in the distance, and what sounded like snarling or snorting. No creature that I know of could have made a sound like this. It sounded demented, deranged. We get our shit together and start speed walking back. The rustling and snarling get more frequent the farther we walk. Keep in mind that we are walking through dense vegetation. I stayed probably 10 or 15 feet in front of my girlfriend while we walked in the woods. About halfway back to the house, my girlfriend dropped her beach towel and reached down to pick it up. As soon as she did, a man came running full speed through the woods, grabbing her by her hair, snarling, and what sounded like laughing, mixed with screaming and crying. I can't even describe it. It paralyzed me. I was frozen for a split second. Before I continue, I feel the need to describe what this guy looked like. He had long matted brown hair, looked like he hadn't showered in a week, and was wearing nothing but jeans that were ripped to hell. I'm 6 foot, 120 pounds. I'm not the most threatening looking dude out there. Now back to what I was saying. She started to scream my name and yell for help. I carry a knife on me at all times, mostly for utility purposes, but using it as a weapon against this quack was the last thing on my mind. I didn't know if he had rabies or any other disease, so I slung my shotgun off my back and racked the slide. I don't know if you know, but the sound of a shotgun slide can be enough to deter someone, so that was my mindset. I didn't have any rounds loaded, or any intentions of loading any. The man turned around and looked at me with an evil, sadistic smile, and for a split second, I thought he was going to come after me. Thankfully, he didn't. He ran back into the woods. I grabbed my girlfriend by the wrist and pretty much drug her back the rest of the way home, shotgun in my hand, ready to be used. We get back to the house and nearly bust down the door, slam it shut, and lock it. My girlfriend starts crying. My mom comes running out of the other room and asks us what in the world happened. I explain everything to her. She was stunned. You might be asking if we called the police or sheriff's office. The answer is no, we didn't. My family isn't the type to do that. We handle things ourselves. We try to get my girlfriend calmed down, and after about 30 minutes, she finally gets a grip on what just happened. I tell her it's going to be alright, and that she's safe, and that I won't let anything bad happen to her. She goes and takes a shower and gets cleaned up. Between the humidity, sand, and most likely ticks and the other stuff, we were both pretty filthy. While she's in there, my mom and I discuss what we should do now. I mentioned that we shouldn't call the law, but we damn near did. She gets out, and I ask her if she wants me to take her home. She says no. I could still see the fear in her eyes. She was terrified. I didn't let anyone know, but I was too. We all were. We still are. None of us slept that night. I sat up all night drinking pot after pot of coffee, just waiting for that crazy motherfucker. As soon as the sun came up, I called my dad and cousin and asked them to come over and bring my cousin's dog, a coon dog. We searched the wood for 2 hours and found nothing. Looking back on it, it was probably a meth cook that got some weird disease and went crazy, or he was on PCP. My girlfriend is still here, spending summer break with me. In fact, she's sitting with me as I type this. None of us can sleep at night. That sound still echoes in my head. The image of his face, still burned into my brain. Two years ago, I was living and working in South Korea, doing the whole English teacher bit. Though it was a positive experience overall, what I'm about to describe was a stark exception. Most expats feel very safe in South Korea. There's very little violent crime compared to the United States. It can be easy to let your guard down, especially for someone like me who's used to living in neighborhoods back home where you randomly hear shooting or junkies knocking on your door at night. My apartment was provided by my employer. It was a small studio apartment on the second floor of a relatively small building. The apartment itself was on a side corridor, with one apartment on either side. The main corridor was across from my apartment, such that if the door was open, you could see across to the other side of the building. The building was in a quiet neighborhood, and noise traveled easily. The apartment to one side was unoccupied, and the one on the other side was occupied. However, I rarely heard the neighbor make the typical noises I could hear in the building, like cooking or watching TV. The lobby of the apartment building had a sliding glass door that required a key fob or a passcode to open. There was a CCTV bubble on the lobby ceiling. However, unlike most Korean apartment buildings, there was no guard stationed there. Korean apartments also usually have electronic locks these days, but this building's apartments were mostly only fitted with key locks. However, they do come with a camera doorbell combo. If someone rings your doorbell, a little screen projects whoever is standing there. One of my American coworkers also lived in the building, as well as a Korean coworker for a brief period. My work schedule was pretty regular, but with atypical hours. Since I worked with kids after school, I would start at around 2 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and at 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday. A few months out of the year, my Thursday classes didn't start until 5 or later, which gave me a lot of time to run errands or goof around before work. Sometimes I would just take the bus to do my errands, other times I rode my bike. Some days I just sat around the apartment. So here I am, a 20-something American guy, used to working crappy retail jobs just to make ends meet. I finally have money left over at the end of the month, for the first time in my life. I start buying nice stuff. I get a laptop, speakers, a microwave oven, and some nice clothes. I'm living modest, but by my standards, a comfortable lifestyle. I start going out more, taking in the sights of this foreign land. I'm the outdoorsy type, so I go hiking a lot. Korea has a strong hiking culture. Or I ride my bike down the Han River. Since my apartment is so small, I left my bike in the small corridor. Part of me wanted to check with my neighbor to see if it was okay by him, but if he didn't speak English, I'm not sure that I would be able to communicate with him. Plus, it's hard to tell if he's home or not. As I said before, the noises of the apartment building were easy to hear. The sliding glass doors thunking closed, people taking the stairs, the jangle of my neighbor's keys and his door latching shut, delivery boys leaving fried chicken ads on the doors, the cleaning lady mopping the floors bright and early on Sunday mornings, and so on. Though it feels lacking in privacy, it's also a bit comforting. I'm feeling pretty good about life, and why not? I'm having an adventure overseas and doing work that's actually meaningful. So perhaps that's why it's so easy for me to shrug off the weird things going on. Every so often, my doorbell will start ringing. When I check the screen, there's no one outside, and the corridor is completely empty. The first couple of times this happened, I was willing to write it off as a glitchy old system. Though high-tech by my standards, the console had clearly seen several years. By the fourth time I heard that ding, 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 it started to send chills down my spine. On the screen I noticed the motion-sensing lights in the main corridor slowly click off one by one before the screen itself goes blank. I entertained the notion that it might be a ghost, but the more obvious scenario is that someone is ringing the bell, either quickly when passing down the hall, or possibly even remotely. Now I'm starting to get annoyed. Are they trying to mess with my head or what? A few days later, I'm sitting at home at around 3 in the afternoon, when out of nowhere, someone pounds on my door. I didn't even hear anyone walking outside. I freeze and don't respond. At this point, I think someone is trying to intimidate me, and I'm tired of it. I fling open the door. Unsurprisingly, there's no one there. I call out in Korean, "Hello?" No response. "Hello?" The silence mocks me. In retrospect, I should have just gone to my boss at this point and told him what was going on. I should have bought some spy cameras. I should have done something. Instead, I did nothing. I guess I was just hoping my meager display of bravado would show whoever was messing with me that I wasn't going to let them get to me. After several weeks of silence, I'd started to forget about these incidents. One Thursday, I lucked out and had a random day off of work. It was a fluke thing. No one except my coworkers would have known I was off that day. I decided to ride my bike to the other side of Seoul, about a 3-hour round trip. I went to some museums and ran errands. By the time I was ready to go home, it was dark. I figured I'd lock my bike up, take the bus home, and come back for my bike another day. When I got home, I knew something was wrong. I couldn't place it at first, but something was just wrong. I shook off the feeling and lay down for about an hour. When I awoke, I reached out to the spot where I normally left my laptop, but only touched the floor. Immediately I knew that something was wrong, that someone had stolen my laptop, but I didn't want to admit it to myself. I tore my apartment apart, looking in any possible place that it could be, though I knew it wouldn't be there. The dead giveaway was the charger. I never took the charger out of the wall socket. but it too was missing. After about 2 hours of coming to grips with the situation, I called 119. Actually, I called the foreign helpline, and the operator relayed my situation to the local police. An officer showed up, and I showed him around. There wasn't much to see, unfortunately. He explained via Google Translate on his phone that there was no sign of a forced entry. I admitted this was so, and that there was no other possible way into the apartment. The only window did not even open enough for a child to pass through. Did anyone else have a key to the apartment? I had no idea. I didn't even know who the landlord was. The next day, I met with the police at my workplace. A coworker acted as an interpreter. We filled out a police report, and they told me that they would get back to me, but it was likely that I'd never see my laptop again. I was on edge after that. Eventually, I bought another computer. I took it with me everywhere I went. Day trips to the other cities, 2-hour subway rides, even at the top of mountains. The police did a follow-up call with me 2 weeks after the theft. They had no leads. The bubble camera in the lobby was actually just a dummy. No footage to tell if the thief actually lived in the building or not. No word on the other copies of the keys, and my boss didn't even seem to understand my request to replace the lock. His English comprehension was low. Meanwhile, I developed my own theory. My main suspect was the shady neighbor. It seemed likely that he was the only one behind the phantom doorbell phenomenon. He was almost certainly the only one who knocked on my door that day, and he was the only one likely to notice whether my bike was missing. Probably he would not be trying to intimidate me, but rather check whether I was home or not. If he had a key, he could have easily slipped into my apartment when I wasn't home. The day that my doorbell went off, and the day of the theft, were both Thursdays. I tried pretending to leave for work a few times. I lingered in the stairwell, hoping to catch him, but it never panned out. I never did feel comfortable in that apartment building again, but the rest of my time there went without incident. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you can catch all of my future content. I'd like to thank you all again. Your support's been really amazing, and it keeps me going when I have no sleep. I've also received a lot of inquiries as to why I haven't started a crowdfunding campaign to get new equipment. I was actually going to, but then I noticed that little blue button under my video right there that says support. That's the same thing, except I get more of the money, so it actually works a little better. So if you would like to help with that, feel free to do so, and I really appreciate it. That'll help get longer videos as well as more consistency. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.